welcome back to Hell Has No Fury, the podcast where we dive deep into the mysteries of history, recent and much further back, and tell you all the stories of some badass babes we don't want to see lost to time. I'm Kay, and this is Elle.
Thank you for that devious introduction, Kay. This week should be lights out for our most sinister stories yet. Our mini story this week brings you a creature most malevolent before we become lost in the abyss of the underworld. Hold on to your Hades for some devilishly frightful nightmare fuel. So I have actually, for our mini story this week, I've actually gone very far back in history.
Have you? I'm happy to hear that.
I
I threw in the recent part for you because of last week. But yeah.
Oh yeah, my last one was super recent. This one is probably as far back as we can go. And to be fair,
Really?
I did go a little bit off book with it.
Okay, no, I'm happy to.
Because yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it still totally counts because she's still, a woman. But I figured, spooky season is truly upon us now, and you gotta love some theology with a pinch of mythology and some demonology. So my malevolent mistress this week is none other than a true woman scorned by none other than the first lad of them all, the first demon, Lilith.
Lilith, I fucking knew it. Nice.
You did.
I'm super chuffed with this. This is going to be a great one. Oh, I can't wait for this story. I went very scary this week.
Oh, good.
I think my retelling of it is not going to be as scary as the research that I did, but I am scared.
Oh, I'm sure I'll be sleeping with my light on tonight. Even though I just told everybody to turn theirs off, I'm not as hard as I pretend to be. So,
yeah. All right, well, we kick it off. So scare me.
Let's rock and roll. So when it comes to Lilith, most people's sort of knowledge of Lilith probably comes from pop culture these days because she's popped up in several TV shows and things in various forms with various backstories. And to be fair, obviously being as old as she is, the first demon, there's always going to be different stories, variations in sort of that origin. She's popped up in Jewish mythology, Mesopotamia, Assyria, Babylonia. She's been everywhere, man. But my favourite account is that of, the more Abrahamic religion, that sort of Jewish folklore story. So, once upon a time, as all fairy tales begin, God created the heavens and the earth, the days and the nights, and a lot of other stuff. And he also made this chap who goes by the name of Adam. So he fashioned Adam from clay, as you do, gave him life. I'm Dad, you're Adam. Welcome to the garden. And he's like, thanks. Most people follow the belief that then from Adam's rib, God created Eve, because, guy's got needs. However, Jewish folklore tells us that Eve was actually wife number 2. Adam had another woman in his life before little old Evie, and this woman was Lilith. So the story goes that God also made Lilith from clay, just as he did Adam. Made Adam, this went pretty well. Let's make him a partner. Why not make her from clay too? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Fully equal.
Yeah, fully equal. Now, trouble brewed in literal paradise between Adam and Lilith, as being the little feminista that she was, she refused to lay beneath Adam during sex. She was like, why should I lay beneath you? We are equal. Get out. Like, you lie beneath me, bitch. She refused to be subservient to him. She was like, hell no. Like, who do you think you are? Like, I'm not inferior to you. How what makes you think that you're so much better from me? God made us both out of clay. We ain't that fancy, dude. We're literally made out of mud.
Get your clay ass down on the bottom.
That's exactly that was literally the quote that I was about
really?
to say. That was it. Yes. Like, how did you know? You're channeling this bitch right now.
Man, I'm all down for Lilith. She's cool.
So yeah, she was like, look, I'm not having it. And Adam was like, me man, you woman, me bang you on head with club. And she was like, nah, fam, I'm outie. So she left. She left the Garden of Eden riding a wave of her own self-worth, which comes from being made out of clay. or she flew off on wings, because the earliest interpretations of female demons were very bird-like. You know, they had the whole wings, talons, and things. So apparently, she flew off on wings. However, I'm not really down with that version, because she wasn't a demon yet. How did she have these wings? You know, she was human. So I disagree with that version of events. I like to go with the
Yeah.
wave of glory, you know, that marched off into the sunset like a bad bitch. So she went out into the desert, you know, other than the garden, the rest of the world was pretty much a wasteland. She went out into the desert and wandered on our own, which, you know, that's quite frightening, to just go out on your own into the desert where there is literally
Yeah.
nothing else. You're out of paradise, everything that you've ever known.
Before
Um,
the Earth existed 6,000 years ago.
exactly, yes. Exactly. Glad we've got some science in here too tonight. So yeah, she went out, she wandered in the desert. God sent 3 angels after Lilith. He was like, look, go get her, bring her back, let's sort this out. I'll play Jeremy, you can be Graham, you know.
She doesn't know what she's doing. She just went for a walk. She got a bit lost. Like, just give her a minute to walk it off.
You know, we'll you know, we'll get the
She's
therapist
just
in
in a
here, we'll
mood.
sit down. Yeah, it's probably just that time of the month, you know, these women and their
They had a
PMS, like,
tiff. It was a small
why don't they
fight.
just hold it in?
For fuck's sake.
um, so yeah, sent these angels after her, these archangels, to bring her back. However, too little, too late, boys, because Lilith had already hooked up with, again, depending on the version we want to go with here, either Samael, a demon king. Refute that, as Lilith is supposed to be the OG demon. So I prefer to go with the fact she hooked up with Lucifer himself. He comes along and he's like, yo, I tried to tell everyone, Daddy ain't what everybody thinks. He's not a good guy. Like, you know, you are equal to Adam. I am on your side. And Lilith's like, you know, our little heart's all aflutter. Because, you know, Lucifer's a good looking dude, right? He's the most beautiful of all the angels.
My last boyfriend
And
was a
he's like,
dickhead.
exactly, last boyfriend was a total douche. This guy believes in her, man. It's not all about the looks. He believes
This
in her.
is
He
her
supports
glow
the
up.
dreams. Exactly. So, you know, they hook up, and Lucy, being the charming chap that he is, he just twists her soul to be as evil and dark as his own, thus turning her into a demon. So the angels show up together, and she's like, sorry, boys, I'm Team Hell now. Too late, I'm not coming back. But why would I ever want to come back?
Yeah.
So, you know, the angels are like, yeah, that's pretty fair. Go back and tell God, and God's like, ah, shit. What am I supposed to do now? I know, light bulb. Adam, you know all those ribs you've got, do you really think you need all of them? And Adam's like, well, I mean, considering you gave me them, I did think that they all had a purpose. And he's like, nah,
All essential.
give me one.
All essential.
Yeah, you
Essential
would have
pieces.
thought. Like
Why?
this appendix down here, I really need that.
But why did God immediately turn around and ask for a piece of Adam? Like, where was all the rest of the clay? He's God. He made
Well,
Earth. Why does he not have no more clay?
this is it. He's not going to make another woman out of clay because God is Team Adam.
True.
You know, he's Team Adam, isn't he? He's a misogynist prick. So he's like, Adam, I know. Give me one of your ribs. We're going to make this bitch out of you. Then she's going to have to be subservient, isn't she? She is part of you. You were made out of clay. You're the OG. She's just an offshoot of you.
She's just a
And
rib.
Adam's like,
Adam is
yeah, she's just
surely
a
Adam
rib.
is like, but genetics, God, she can't be me. What about our children? God's like,
Have
I
you
don't
never
believe
heard
in
of
genetics.
incest, God? I don't want no web-foot children.
How do you even
I
know
don't
what a
think
smaller
Adam was
version
that
of you
smart.
is? Are you learning all these words, Adam? Is it Lilith?
Yo, I did not give you intelligence, okay? I gave you enough brain cells just to reproduce. You know, that's all I really care about.
Lilith's just slipping him a dictionary under the wall.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I suppose I do kind of feel bad for the guy. Let's give him a bit of a chance. Oh, never mind. He's going for the rib. Oh, the rib's talking. Oh, we've named it. Too late.
Rip's talking.
So this is how we get Eve. So yeah, so we get Eve. And they obviously hook up and all is well in paradise because poor Eve, rib lady, she has to do as she's told because she is inferior to Adam. However, Lilith obviously hears about this and she says to the angels, she's like, look, I will bring no harm to Adam and Eve's children. I won't. As long as they wear a protective amulet bearing my name during childbirth, that will protect them from me. If not, those babies will be vulnerable to me during the first few weeks of their life. So this became a thing.
Who did she make this deal with?
The angels. She told the angels, she
Right.
was like, "Look, I'm not that bad. I am going to go around stealing and killing babies because I'm a demon now, and it's what we do.
Yeah.
And you know, a gal's got to get by, got to make a living. But look, Adam, he might be my ex, but I like to be the bigger person. I won't harm his kids. He's just got to wear an amulet. Well, she's got to wear an amulet bearing my name when she births his children, and I won't hurt them. That's the level of petty I aspire to be.
Yeah. Just make sure my name's on it.
Yeah, just every time that she birthed one of his children, I want her to remember that I came first. Oh, damn. However, what she didn't promise was not to sneak back into the garden and steal Adam's seed as he slept. And she used his seed to spawn demon babies. Because you know, Adam and Eve are popping out a load of humans. We need some more demons. We've got to even this out.
That's not equal.
I mean, I didn't make the rules, you know?
No.
So,
the rules were not thought of very well on either side, really.
no, I don't think the rules
God.
were actually invented by this point. I think it was an afterthought where he was like,
I think there was
I
no
need to
rules.
make some rules. Like, you know, when Moses goes up and he gets that tablet with the commandments and stuff.
The 2 tablets.
Yeah, that's when God finally realised, I think I need some rules for these goddamn
thousands of years later.
These damn humans.
It's been 3,000 years of shit going down, so like things need to be changing.
Yeah, you know, that they are basically children. Maybe I should set some outlines as to how we ought to behave in civilized society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lilith was still wanting his babies rather than like Lucifer's.
I mean, maybe she couldn't have Lucifer's babies. Because you
Maybe.
never really hear about like children of Lucifer, really, do you? It's more just like creations, like twisted souls and things. I mean, there is the Antichrist, but you read again like different conflict and things as to whether the Antichrist is actually the child of Satan or something else entirely. Maybe he just wasn't ready. Maybe he wasn't ready to be a dad. And Lilith
Maybe
was like,
not.
well, you know what? I want to be a mother, so I'm gonna go have a few. We'll pin this and we'll come back to it later. So that's what she did. She went out and she had these babies. So yeah, she has her own babies. They go off. They're all demons and stuff. She promised not to hurt Adam and Eve's children, as long as you know the protective amulet was worn. Of course, when we talk about Adam and Eve's children, we can look at that in the grander scale of things as being all humans, because of course we were all descended from Adam and Eve. So, she, you know, the main thing of Lilith is she steals babies. She kills them. She slays them in their cribs. Which you know, it's a proper dick move. Like I'm not cool.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
I'm not okay with that at all. She's also being described as being a succubus. You know, female demon who preys upon men while they sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And they absolutely hate it. They don't want it at all. Obviously, because you know, rape, isn't it? We say preying on them in the sleep. She rapes them.
Yeah.
Not cool, Lilith.
No.
Not cool. Dick move number 2. But also unwholesome sexual acts
like
are also said to be caused by. I mean, take that as you will. What is wholesome for one person may not be. Who knows?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's totally subjective.
Masturbation. You know what the church are like. I'm saying masturbation. Just keep your hands off.
That's like the smallest thing in the world. Like,
don't go blind.
I think she was probably doing a fair bit more than that.
Oh yeah, but going back to the whole seed stealing thing, it's also said that Lilith is responsible for nighttime happiness that men sometimes experience.
Wet dreams. That's Lilith, is it?
Yeah, that's Lilith. She causes wet dreams.
Right, okay, it's making more sense now as to why, oh, outside of like the religion thing, why this demon lady ever came about, because it was seen as such like sexual gratification was seen as such a bad thing that now it has to be a demon if it happens in the night. So we've got Lilith,
Exactly.
right?
Like
This
so many
makes
of these things are attributed to her. Like, these days you have things like sudden infant death syndrome, which is obviously absolutely horrible.
yeah,
But again, that was attributed to her, taking children's lives as they slept in their cribs. It was
yeah.
all down to this horrible woman who left paradise. She threw it all back in God's face and she left and she hooked up with the devil and she became a demon. Like, why would, awful woman, horrible. Why would she ever, why would she do that? James Joyce, the novelist, also actually referred to her as the patron of abortions.
Oh,
So yeah, anytime a woman has a termination, that's Lilith. That's Lilith working through them. 'Cause how dare they murder those unborn babies? That's Lilith too.
how dare they express agency over their own bodies, just
Exactly.
as Lilith did.
Bodily autonomy, what is that? Exactly, just as Lilith did. And I mean, that's sort of where this all really culminates, because are we to believe this story was Lilith, an evil demon, coupled with the devil himself, to become the world's first ever demon who kills babies and casts our wickedness upon men? Or was she simply a woman who knew her worth, refused to be inferior to the literal only man on the planet, resulting in her reputation forever being tarnished? Because then, Eve herself, Eve took a bite from an apple that she wasn't supposed to, and we're all literally cursed with the original sin because the talking rib took a bite out of an apple.
Right. It does
You
make
know,
sense, though. It does make perfect sense because, like, if we just step out of mythology for a second or theology, probably both, it makes perfect sense that we would have a representation of women's choice, women's agency, women's rights, and that would be then demonified.
of
Demonified?
course.
Yeah, demonified?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Demonified,
But
demonized. I don't know.
demonized. Yeah, it totally makes
Yeah,
sense that they would have like a representation of anything that would be equal in in the form of a demon. Like,
exactly. You know, it's like it's just that age old patriarchal society forever oppressing women.
yeah,
You've done this, that's Lilith. That's Lilith's influence. That's Lilith's followers. You know, it,
it
it
makes
just, it
perfect
all
sense.
comes to the same. It does. God damn Lilith. And then, we've got Eve, poor little rib lady, and she literally takes a bite out of an apple, and we all never hear the end of that.
Did Lilith give her the apple?
No, well, that was Lucifer, wasn't he? He was the snake
Ah, uh-huh, uh-huh.
in the garden who was all like, yo, these apples are lush.
Yeah.
They so juicy. Don't listen to God. Come on, just have a bite. Have a bite. So, she was even sweating it. Just one of those things like, oh, women are so easily influenced. They don't
Of
have a mind of their
course.
own, you know. So that's as we know. Um, I don't believe in any of this nonsense. I started this story once upon a time, but it's all metaphorical, isn't it? It's
Yeah, it
literally
is
all this
metaphorical.
stuff that people use to explain a world that they didn't understand and to control people.
Yeah, it
All
is.
about control.
It is metaphorical, and it's so clear. It's so clear where the lines are drawn between good and evil, and it's so clear where religion has placed men and women on those lines.
Yeah.
Like
And I
to
mean
be a
that's the thing,
good,
like
yeah,
it really, because it's one of those things where I feel like Lilith is more known about now because of, a lot of pop culture references.
sure,
Because she's not actually mentioned in the Torah. She's part of Jewish mythology, but she's not actually mentioned in the Torah. She's mentioned once in the book of Isaiah, which, as far as my understanding goes, is not part of the Torah. It's part of the Hebrew Bible, which is apparently not the Torah. I don't know, I got really confused trying to understand this because I've never really bothered going that deep into it before. Um, King James Bible, which is, the most popular version of the
yeah.
Bible these days,
The Matthew,
not
Mark,
mentioned
Luke, and
in
John
that.
books. No, she wouldn't
Yeah,
be. But
it's like
those,
they're trying to sweep her under the rug. It's like once upon a time it was Lilith's bad, Lilith's evil. I shake my finger at you. Now it's let's just sweep the existence away because she is quite viewed now as a bit of a feminist icon. There are a lot of societies and groups. I read something about a festival for women's shelters that's like named after her. And of course, they want to sweep the knowledge of her away because the more women who know about her, the more they can gather their own interpretation that actually she was just standing up for herself.
All right, all right. That was a great story. That was a really, really good story. I'm really
Thank you. I'm
happy.
glad you enjoyed it. I'm
I
excited
did,
for
yeah.
yours.
Yeah, I am terrified of mine.
You're terrified of yours. Hold on. I'm going to set my mood even further. Just,
Oh, this is scary. This for anyone listening at home right now, Elle has just turned her entire room red through, I think, a salt lamp,
yeah,
but like everything is red. It's just got an eerie red glow.
it might be a little bit too much. I'm not going to lie. I might just have to
Keep
put
it.
my
You have to
ring
keep
light
it now.
on low. That's still
Okay,
pretty
so
creepy.
yeah, we'll kick it off, will we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the story I'm going to tell you today is that of a woman named Mildred Darby. I think she likes to be known as Millie, but whatever. And the creature she allegedly brought forth from wherever, we don't really know, to make Lep Castle one of Ireland's most haunted castles. And this is a big deal. We have a lot of castles.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a shitload of castles. We were a castle nation way back when, and they all probably most of them still exist. And this is the most haunted of them.
I
It's
love
currently
it.
privately owned, actually. Some like a man and his wife live there, and they're like totally happy with the public to come in. I think you have to pay like a little bit of money for a private tour or something. He's a musician, so he bought it in like the 90s to do it up. It had been pretty badly damaged by the IRA in like the 20s or something. So his passion project, love child, is re-establishing this castle and like doing it up and everything.
Oh my God, I
So
love
he's had it for like
that.
30 years or something. I think he's slowing down a bit now, but yeah, the guy, he's an absolute legend. He just like brings people in, plays them some music, tells them all the stories. Like he's an absolute legend. He's such a sweetheart. I've seen like loads of videos of him on YouTube. Um
Oh my God,
so anyway,
whereabouts is this castle?
it's in County Offaly, so it's like Midlands south-ish, but like not proper south.
Okay,
It's almost the middle of the country.
can we go?
No, I'm never going here. Never going here.
Oh,
I'll drive you past the grounds if you want to, but that's
okay,
as close as I'm
let's
getting to
do
this
that.
place.
Let's do that. When I come over, I've got my flights booked out enough for next year. When I come
Yeah.
over, we'll go for a little drive by.
Yeah, it'll be like a 2 hour drive by.
That's fine. I love a road trip.
Grand. Okay, so to understand this creature more fully, we need to dive into the brutal history of Lep Castle. The first part of this castle was built in the 13th century by the O'Bannon clan. So we're talking 12, I think it was like 1250 or something like that.
Nice. That's a
From
good age for a castle.
a good
Good
age.
age.
Yeah, so it's still standing and all. It's
Yeah.
800 years old. It could stand
Love
for
old
800 years more.
castles.
Who knows?
Love old castles so much.
So much history, just like history caked into the dirt on the floor. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So from the get go, this castle's history is rife with sibling rivalry and tragic bloodshed. Before it had even been built, it said that the two O'Bannon brothers that were vying for chieftainship of their clan were required to make a showing of bravery and daring, and so they made a pact to leap from a very rocky outcrop on the land where the castle would be built. The survivor would be chieftain, and so one of the brothers dies and the other is made leader of Lep Castle.
Oh,
Like that's a very
Christ.
bad beginning for this
Yeah,
place
that's not good.
spiritually.
That's not
No,
good. That's silly. That's very silly. Just
very,
play a
very
game
silly.
of like rock, paper, scissors or something, lads. Like,
You're right.
my word.
Very, very. Anyway, so like one of them is dead. One of them is leader of the castle. And at the time, the O'Bannons were somewhat ruled by the O'Carrolls. They were subservient to them in some kind of way. The O'Carrolls were much bigger in the area than
Mm,
the O'Bannons were. So it was likely there wasn't like a symbiotic partnership or a happy partnership between them, and it
right.
gave the O'Carrolls the right to use their castle as a fortress when they were like going to war and stuff like that. Its position was perfect for access to a mountain range, and the location made it hugely valuable because it was well protected and a lot of money had gone into its construction. So the O'Carrolls wanted this property a lot. From the original building, several wings were added over the years, and the secrets built into these wings and various aspects of the castle will turn your stomach, especially after the O'Carrolls assumed ownership. I can't find any reports online about how amicable the exchange of possession was between the O'Carrolls and the O'Bannons, but it's pretty safe to assume it wasn't pretty. The
No,
O'Carrolls
most certainly
were
not.
mm-mm,
I mean, are they
not at
ever?
all.
Are they ever? You know.
No, Definitely not. The Orcaros are particularly bad. They are bloodthirsty. They were fierce and they're power hungry and ruthless. They're a bad load of people to fall into. The shit that they did in this place over the years is absolutely horrendous. It's the stuff of nightmares, honestly, and I fully expect to have some nightmares after diving deep into this today.
Oh my
Um,
days. Yeah, we're really not off to a good start already. Like this is just
no, already not. And there's so
really
much
just
more.
tainting the ground itself. Like,
Yeah. So the thing about rulers, especially in this castle, were that they got worse and worse. Like their disposition got like more and more evil, really. It was a rough time to live in by all accounts. You had to be strong and rigid and uncompromising. And in these situations, often the easiest way to do that was to be cruel.
yeah,
And it's more complicated than that, even because once a chief dies and the next in line gets chieftainship, it's not a straightforward like passage of power. It's
yeah,
not
it's
just
not like
passed down.
Succession as you'd see it even
No, not
today.
at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. It's not passed down from eldest son to eldest son or whatever that they have to be voted in by the clan. So it's like if you're not even perceived to be ruthless or strong, you're not getting it. Like it's all about perception. It's just
Like
not a straightforward
um
path.
like the Iron Islands with the Salt Throne.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll find a lot of parallels with Game of Thrones
Yeah.
in here actually.
Oh yeah. It's one thing I
Um
love about like history in Britain and Ireland. There's so much that you just know that he drew from
yeah.
our history because America doesn't have any. Um,
Yeah.
and like straight away, like even when you're sort of talking about the castle itself and this awful beginning, I just immediately thought of Harrenhal, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was brought about with this might
Horrendous. Yeah.
of these people, and it fell so terribly. Uh, so yeah, I've already got a good image in my mind. So
I'm
this is
glad.
going
I'm
well.
glad because you're gonna find a lot more. You're gonna find probably the worst. I'm not even gonna tell you. We'll get to
No,
it at a
oh
time.
no, don't tell me, don't tell me.
Yeah. Okay. So following the death of a chieftain, a void of power is left that often several people within the family would be keen to fill. Being the ruler meant respect, meant riches, and meant power, and probably not so much security, especially if you have enemies and are inhabiting a haunted as fuck castle. But it's still something that they wanted quite a lot in the 16th century. So we're now 300 years on, and the castle has the castle has obtained a lot of blood in this time. But in the 16th century, after an unsuccessful or short-lived, I've read two different sources on this, seizure of the castle by the Earl of Kildare, it fell back into the possession of the O'Carrolls. Though the Earl did manage to damage the castle, it was still standing. This was typical enough for the castle. It was constantly being fought over. People were always trying to get it because it was such a valuable piece of property. It was in such a good position. People wanted it. Um, so especially around this time, it was in a bit of flux because the chieftain of the O'Carrolls died without naming a successor. So this is even worse than when they have to be voted in. This is like anyone can go.
Free for all,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So the castle was up like in the air. It was pretty much in the air. Everyone wanted it. Everyone wanted to try and seize it. And it was like I heard it was like 100 years or something that this castle was then, I guess, in flux between power sources. As we've mentioned, this would typically mean a vote, but like any vote didn't really mean anything because they would always be trying to grab it.
Yeah.
So just before, as before with the O'Bannons, two brothers would eventually vie for leadership of this clan. One was a priest, and on one day when the priest was saying mass for his family up in a kind of chapel area within the castle, um, his brother burst in the door of the mass and
Rude.
pretended to be offended that he'd started mass without him,
Oh,
and slew him on the altar with a sword through the chest in
all
front of
right.
his
Okay.
family.
Right. Let's just stop right there. Bitches whinging that you started mass without me. I am so pious. I am so holy that I am going to slay you in God's house.
That's some arrogance, isn't it?
Like, get out.
But of course, that was his only arrival, and now he, through Siblicide, further Siblicide, because it's not the first time we've even seen this, he's now chieftain of the O'Carrolls. So, like, was he really offended he missed Mass? I don't
Honestly.
fucking think so. I'm pretty
What
sure
a
he just
darn
wanted to
good
kill his brother.
excuse.
Yeah,
Seriously,
right.
saying this is my divine right.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was demonstrating his strength as well by doing it in front of all of his family
Yeah.
during the priest's mass. Like he didn't give a fuck. He was ruthless. Um, the priest is said to be one of the entities still present in the castle today and can be found in this so-called bloody chapel and on its stairwell. He's been seen by many people, and actually, some people think he's a protector against the negative energy within the castle.
I love that.
Because,
I love that.
yeah, I've seen it two ways. He scares a lot of people, but a ghost will scare a lot of people,
Well,
but
that's it. Even just
it's
the presence alone is unnerving.
terrifying.
But you
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah,
hear of, these sort of these good spirits, these protector spirits. You may be frightened at first, but it's like he's just doing his thing. He's just trying to ward off the evil energy because
yeah.
the
It's
way
kind of
he
probably
died.
what he did in life, or he was a
Exactly.
priest.
Yeah.
Um, who knows what kind of a priest he was, but we'll leave that one.
Yeah.
Um,
That was my thoughts exactly. I'm trying not to religion bash too much during
oh
this
god, yeah.
episode.
So the O'Carrolls, especially at this time, were a wealthy clan, and as such, they hired mercenaries to do their combat a lot of the time. One such occasion was when they hired the McMahons to defeat their enemies in a field of battle. In celebration, the O'Carrolls threw a feast for the McMahons, wherein they poisoned their wine. Every one of them died.
Ah, hmm.
Where do we
Where I've
know that
seen that
from?
before.
Yeah. It's thought this was to get out of paying them for their service. And the men who were slain there, slain there, are still to this day haunting the hall that they died in together.
I don't blame them.
No,
I
I've
do
also
not
read
blame them.
accounts. Right, no, wouldn't you? Like, this is terrible shit. Like, these are people that you hired to do your bidding. They slew your enemies, and now they're all dead in your great
Yeah,
hall or
you don't
whatever.
go back on your word like that.
No,
Most
you
certainly.
don't. Certainly not. It's the worst of offenses.
Yeah, just pay your debts.
Right, and you're a wealthy clan.
Exactly.
You've just assumed more land through the help of these people. Like, give them something. And this isn't the first time that I think they did this. I've also read accounts of this happening to an O'Neill clan from the O'Carrolls as well. At another time, date unknown, the O'Carrolls imprisoned a woman and repeatedly raped her. She got pregnant from this, and once the baby was born, they slaughtered it in front of her with a dagger. She
Stop.
she in despair grabbed the same blade that they killed her baby with and ended her own
Killed
life.
ourselves,
And
of
she
course.
is
Oh,
yeah, she's one of the most frequently seen ghosts in Lep Castle, and she's called the Red Woman.
I'm not surprised she's that frequently seen because that is
Horrendous.
exactly if you think of what she must have been going through. They often say that spirits are born through certain types of death and really strong emotions and feelings and sort of
Yeah,
business they're left behind. Like if you were sort of a medium or somebody who was in touch with these other energies, I imagine she would just feel like she was screaming at you. Like that is absolutely
tormented.
awful. Yeah,
Absolutely
100%.
tormented.
Mm-hmm.
It gets worse. In the 1900s, early on, I think it was a few years after the turn of the century. There was a huge renovation on Lep Castle, and an oubliette was discovered beneath a trap door,
Oh,
which was
what?
essentially
Sorry.
a dungeon. An
Oh,
oubliette. Yeah, so it's a dungeon basically, and it's a place where it's basically um I've seen pictures of it, so it's like a chute in the ground covered by a trap door. It goes about 8 feet deep, and it's a place where they would just throw people down the chute to hide a body, or even throw them down alive because there were spikes at the bottom that would impale the victims.
oh my
And I
God.
can only imagine if you were thrown down alive and a spike impaled you. Like, can you imagine how it would sound in that area? It'd sound horrendous. Like, there'd be people moaning, people screaming.
Hmm.
Who even knows? For days, it could take days to die from a wound like that. You
Oh,
don't know.
definitely, definitely. That
And it
is
always makes
just,
me.
oh, it's sickening.
Do you remember, like in the 90s, when a TV show would have someone like kidnapped and thrown down a chute, and they would land on a pile of skulls?
Yes. Oh my God,
That's what it makes me
yes.
think of, because that's exactly what it was. It'd
It
be the
could
most
be
tragic, slow death. Hundreds of bodies were discovered here. It took 3 cartloads to bring all the bones out.
three
Uh,
cartloads.
3 cartloads to bring all the bones that they found out there.
Oh
Can
my.
you imagine someone you knew way back when took a job for the O'Carrolls, went missing, and they're not found for hundreds of years? The castle was 700 years old at this stage.
That is absolutely
Never to be
abominable.
found. Just a hidden trapdoor in a huge castle. That's where they ended up. That torments me. That does. That's
Oh
horrible.
yeah, that is like I feel a little bit sick. Like when you
Yeah.
actually properly think about it, that is awful. Like
Awful.
I don't have the words. I actually don't have the words to
There are no
express how
words.
I
There
actually
literally
feel
are.
about
It's
that.
inhumane. It's absolutely inhumane. And there's loads more sightings of ghosts in the castle. Probably for many of the people who are in that pit. Um, a couple of little girls are seen, sisters, one of which fell from the battlements at the top of the castle when she was 11. She can be heard screaming, and the scream cuts off like that, so they think it's probably the last scream, the one that they hear.
Impact.
Yeah. And her sister is seen to be following her, dragging an injured foot behind her, and they're quite frequently seen together along with an older lady who seems to have been their carer in life, maybe like a governess or something.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people have seen a man staring out a window, or a woman who goes about giving just like sweeping touches on people.
Mm.
Like loads of people feel like they've been touched once they've like visited this castle.
I don't want to go anymore.
No, I don't. I'm
I'm
not
not
going to
I'm
bring it
not
anyway.
brave. I'm not brave enough. I don't even want to drive past anymore.
I was never even going to bring it, and we're not even at the worst part yet. So along the way, the castle fell into the hands of the Darbys. This was a big deal. The Darbys were English.
Oh,
Um,
not cool.
yeah, so not cool. So this is basically why they were targeted by the IRA back in the
Yeah.
1920s, and that's why the castle is in such a bad state today, because it was horrible that they that it had fallen into the hands of
Yeah, it's like,
Englishmen.
fuck you guys. Like, it's
Yeah.
bad enough that you've like been invading our homeland for like centuries. You're not taking our castles too. Get out. Like,
Right. So it happened again through bloodshed. Captain Darby was an Englishman who was held prisoner in the castle. The daughter of the chieftain at the time took a liking to him, eventually sneaking him out of the castle. But I think she would also bring him like food and stuff like that. She basically kept him alive. Once again, proving that women are the MVP. Her brother, the heir to the castle, caught them on the stairway, and Darby killed him, making the daughter herself the heiress to the castle. And as such, the castle passed from the O'Carrolls to the Darbys. This man had made a lot of money through war, and he buried it all in the grounds of the castle. Later, he was imprisoned again in Dublin Castle, which is quite far away, especially at the time. I don't know how long for, but when he came back, frankly, he was mad, and he forgot where all of his treasure was. And today, he can still be seen searching for this from the afterlife.
now, searching for the treasure, I am on
Yeah.
board with. I
You
will
want to go treasure
risk the
hunting?
ghosts to go treasure hunting.
No, you won't. No, you won't. Not after you hear the next bit. So, such a collection of miserable deaths, they say, unleashed a sorrowful and tragic energy into the world. And all of this energy and sadness and despair, as people lay dying, it said, has collected, and this is what Mildred Darby tapped into. So, Mildred married into the Darby family, the heir Jonathan. He was 15 years older than her. So she was like out of touch with him, and he was away, and she didn't like him, or I don't think she liked him anyway. He was quite mean, and he was mean to the kids. So I think she just tried to stay away from him as much as possible. She was an occultist, and she loved everything supernatural. Natural. She was also a gothic novelist, so anything dark was right up her alley.
Oh my god, I
Uh,
love this woman.
right. So she just wants she wants her husband to fuck off, and she wants to just hold some seances with her friends and speak to spirits in the house and use spirit writing to communicate. Um, and she woke something in the house, and it's been described as the thing, or as it, or as an elemental, and it's not born of a human spirit, but of the misery of human suffering. Her experiences started in 1909, and she wrote this to the Occult Review. I was standing in the gallery looking down at the main floor when I felt somebody put a hand on my shoulder. The thing was about the size of a sheep, thin, gaunt, shadowy. Its face was human, or to be more accurate, inhuman. Its lust in its eyes, which seemed half decomposed in black cavities, stared into mine. The horrible smell, 100 times intensified, came up into my face, giving me a deadly nausea. It was the smell of a decomposing corpse. And I'm sure that castle has seen that smell many times over.
Oh yeah, I'll be one of those one where, sorry, just smell burning toast.
Yeah,
Or,
right.
you get a whiff of something and you're like, I could smell donuts the other day. For some reason, I was driving home from work and I could just smell donuts. And I was like, where is that coming from? I would hate to think you just sat chilling in your castle and you get that smell.
Yeah, and
Like,
like, sure, you get that smell, but imagine how many times that smell would have just naturally been there from all of the decomposing bodies
well, yeah,
under.
it will have been. That's it. It's one of these things, isn't it? Like when you talk about spirits and hauntings and things, uh, I often think that there's the whole theory of time not being linear, and it's like
Yeah,
timelines
they don't know time.
overlapping.
Yeah,
Yeah, I,
but
I
this isn't
think
a
that's
ghost.
that's a
This is a
huge thing.
demon.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like, as you say, it's sort of the collective of all this misery and things. I think a lot of that could be as well these sort of
Yeah.
overlapping timelines where it's that bad that it is sort of piercing different veils to reach through to different timelines.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I'm giving myself
So
I need to
later
turn my
she
light back on.
later she wrote to a friend, the last appearance of the elemental were on November 25th, 1915. On the gallery, leaning with hands, which is in inverted commas, resting on the rail, I saw the thing, the elemental, and smelt it only too well. At the same moment, my husband pulled up sharply about 10 feet from the thing, and half turning, let fly a volley of abuse at me, ending in dressing up a thing like that to try and make a fool of me. And now you'll say I've seen something, and I have not seen anything, and there is nothing to see or ever was. So like he's seen it too. He just thinks that she's playing a joke on him.
Defensive much, yeah. Like,
Like this thing can be seen by more than one person.
oh, I have a really awful image of it in my head.
Yeah, I don't even want to see what people think this thing looks like. The servants of the house were affected by it. They could smell it, and when it would make them feel faint and nauseous. A rake of them quit after seeing it one time. It's believed that the full extent of what the elemental can do is heart palpitations, nausea, vomiting, sweating, chills, tremor, dizziness, and fatigue. I'm sure you can imagine a lot of those a lot of those symptoms in a castle where you've got winding stairways and where bad shit happens, like a kid fell off the battlements. Who's to say that she wasn't made to feel nauseous or something? I know that was a long time before Mildred came
But
around,
no,
but you
yeah,
know what I
but
mean?
what impact could it have had? No, that is a very valid point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Um. So it's been seen several times after this, and the most recent personal encounter I got from the Leap Castle website was from 2006, and it says this. So I looked into the darkness of a corner that exited the spiral stairway. I became aware of the smell of sulfur. It was as if boxes and boxes of matches had suddenly been lit at once. I looked at my friend who had taken me on a visit to Leap Castle. He could also smell the sulphur. I stared into the darkness of the corner, and I had the impression that a beast like a bear or a lion was staring back at me. The tension was rising and ticking like a time bomb. My friend then closed the door and said to let sleeping dogs lie. Meaning sometimes you just have to leave things alone.
Yeah.
He's a friend of the
Don't
owner, and
interfere.
he was a friend of the owner, and I certainly didn't want to disrespect them by stirring up the elemental.
Oh,
That was 2006, so
that's
it's been a long time.
horrid. That is
So
beyond.
terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. So there's so many YouTube videos on this that honestly they scared the fuck out of me. One was an Australian one. I think it was an Australian woman and an English woman, who I think I'll get the name. I think it was some sort of paranormal society, and I think they had travelled across to see this place. Um, they had this thing called an obelisk, I think, which it had like words on the screen, and it was like it looked like it was like translating energy into words, and the first fucking
Yes,
thing
I've
that
heard
came
of
up on,
those. I have heard of those, yeah.
yeah, the
Uh-huh.
first thing that came up on it was elemental.
Stop
The
it.
first fucking thing that came up on
Stop
it.
it.
I was
Nah,
like, get out. I was like, get out, get
nah.
out, get out, get out,
I'm
get out, get
done.
out.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Done.
And it wasn't,
Going.
there was two other words, I can't remember them, but they were not kind words. And I was like, you just need to get the fuck out of this place right now. I was so stressed out.
Don't
I was
interact.
so stressed
Don't
out.
interact. What, why? Why put yourself in that position? Don't interact. Just don't. No, stop. Oh, nah. Where's me save?
It got worse.
Oh, no.
It got so much worse. So, their EVP sensors were also going wild, and then they went downstairs, or they went either downstairs or upstairs. I think they went into the chapel, and you can very fucking clearly hear voices on the camera telling them to get out.
No. Oh, no.
Yeah, and one of the voices was like bitch, 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 get out, get out, get out. I'll send you the video. It's freaky
I
as
don't want to
fuck.
watch it. I read
The whole
things. I
time,
don't watch things.
and they're totally fine. They're totally fine, and I'm like, get out, get out, get out. Like this is not a place you want to be. This is really,
No.
really not a place you want to be. Um, and also they like introduced themselves. They used their names, and then they asked the thing for its name. And I'm like,
No.
that's not what.
No.
That's the worst thing to
No.
do. You
You
do not
never
give
give
your name.
something your name. Names hold power. You never
But
give something
yeah,
your
that's what
name.
I thought.
And you must certainly never ask for its name. Like,
Yeah,
oh
that's
my
what I
God.
thought. I was like, that's the worst thing they can do. Like
No.
honestly, it blew my mind that they were
Like it's
doing
it's
this.
one of these things that pops up into my head every now and again when I meet somebody new. Where when I meet like a stranger and I'm like, do I tell this person my real name?
Yeah, but like you've heard it time and time again. Like you do not give your name, and don't ask for their names. That'll make them angry. And no wonder they were calling it like bitch, bitch, bitch. I
It's like an
honestly,
invitation. It really is. Like,
honestly,
let
it scared
sleeping
the shit
dogs
out of me.
lie for real. Let sleeping dogs lie. I would never
Just leave it alone.
that.
Just leave it
There
alone.
is so much that
Um,
we don't understand.
yeah,
We don't. It's like like what we've already said earlier about times gone by where people would come up with things to explain things that they didn't understand. They didn't know that there was so much they didn't know. We
yeah,
don't know how much we don't know. We, at the end of the day, we're just animals on this rock
yes,
in
yeah.
space. Who knows what is actually out there? Like, I, it's just not something I'd want to risk
No,
at
and it's
all.
something that you need to respect as well. Like, don't antagonize it. Don't invite something in. Don't do like I can't understand why. Like, it makes me nervous to even talk about it. You
I
know?
know. I'm getting nervous just talking about it. Like,
Yeah. So there's so much stuff on YouTube. Another one was really really interesting. It was like these Dublin ghost hunters or something that went down and caught like two phrases on tape. I have them here. So one of them was eat, 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 and then like a creepy laugh, and it was a woman's voice, and there was no women on site that night. It made me think of the banquet that they poisoned all those people. And then another one was just need to turn the light back on. Another one was just need to get past Jesus Christ or something like that. And then that one made me think of killing the priest. So like all of these things make sense to me, but like
well, that's
I
it.
don't
But
know.
at the same time, that's human nature, isn't it? To find
And
an
I've
explanation.
imprinted my impression on that as well. So,
Yeah,
but it is scary, and you can hear these words on the camera.
I don't like it at
Um,
all.
I don't like it either. But it also made me think like maybe it's not just the castle. So this piece of land is said to have been occupied for since 500 AD.
Well, that's it. Like, it is often the land as well, not necessarily the building. Like to go local. Just a little side story. We can always cut this out. Like literally, like the pub where I used to work, built on old farmland. It's only like 30 years old, but it's haunted by a farmer. Dude used to live there. It used to be his farm. It just happens that there's now a pub on top of his land, but he still walks that same land because that was his farmland. Like stuff like that you hear about all the time. Because just because there's now a house there, that doesn't mean that something's going to change. Who knows what could have happened on that land even longer ago? When you think about the actual histories that these like old countries have, who knows what else could have happened there? Who knows if this negative energy draws in certain kinds of people or influences people's behavior?
That's what I was thinking, yeah. Because there was said to be druid rituals on that land. Like this story was creeping me the fuck
That is, I
out
feel like we
all
need a
day.
trigger warning for this episode, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and like get a cuddle.
Yeah, I'm literally gonna watch a Disney film and burn some sage. Where's my Bible?
I
I
wish
have my Bible
I wish
back
I
on my
had Sage.
nightstand.
You're just bashing that a few minutes ago. Now you want it again.
Hey, every little helps.
Will we look at next week's topic?
Mm,
All right, you ready?
I'm
Drum
ready.
roll, please. Ghosts.
Ghosts!
Of course, it's ghosts after this week. It's like we can't just wind down. We have to just keep ramping it up. Though
No.
arguably demons is scarier, so maybe we
Yeah.
are on the wind down.
No, ghosts. I mean, ghosts can be fun, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, I can
we can
tell
have
you
a
a
good
whole
time with
bunch
that.
of. To be fair, this is women related. I'm a woman. I'm a bad bitch, and I've got loads of ghost stories.
No, I love this one. I already know what I'm going to do for this one.
Oh dear, oh, I don't.
Yeah, I've had this one in my head for a really long time.
Oh, have you? Oh,
Yeah.
hmm. I can't think of anything. I can literally just only think of. I'm starting to think of all the ghosts that I've seen. Um, But no, we're not
Ever
going.
in your whole life? Have you
Yeah.
seen a ghost?
Yeah, do you not remember when I went on the ghost tour when we were in uni and I saw the ghost? Do you
No.
remember how I joked that one followed us home and it was living in my wardrobe? Do you remember? And then you
Yes, I
moved into my
remember.
room after. No, did I never tell you
Yeah, I
about that?
remember. And I remember another girl that we lived with went on a ghost tour directly after I moved in and brought home a ghost as well.
Yeah, yeah, see,
I
exactly.
wouldn't let her cross the threshold into my bedroom.
Oh my word.
I remember actually we were living in that house and there was like a murder just across the way.
Yeah, it was in the
But I
next
remember one
block.
time, yeah, I remember one time the girl I'm talking about and we were living with a boy as well. She was doing dishes and we were lying on like couches adjacent to the kitchen
Hmm.
and I just could hear this really heavy breathing, like really heavy breathing, and I was looking at the guy that I was living with to see his chest rise and fall, and it was completely out of sync with the breathing, and he was like looking at me, he was like, "What the fuck is what's on me? What's wrong with me?" And then I was like, "Shh," and he could hear it too, and he was freaked the fuck out.
I never experienced anything in that
Really?
place. But I mean, that murder was literally not even a year before we moved in. Um, I've still got a picture of the letter from the police somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, because I think the people who lived there left on purpose, like just for
Oh
the
yeah,
lols.
yeah,
And I took a picture of it, like, oh, what a lovely place we've moved to. Somebody was shot dead, like next door, basically. But I
yeah.
never really experienced anything. But yeah, I've had quite a few ghost experiences, to be honest. So I can
Oh,
throw those in
no.
as mini stories next week, maybe.
Yeah, you should. You should. Well, thank you for listening this week. We hope you enjoyed our couple of stories about demons there. Hopefully you'll be able to sleep tonight or ever
Yeah, if you
again.
do want to sleep with the light on, I'm not judging.
If you feel like it, give us a follow on Hell Hath No Fury Pod on Instagram and on Twitter at Pod Hell Hath.
Fridays we do meme day on Instagram. We do our story activities on Saturdays, and then I go radio silent for the rest of the week. So
But yeah, please do give us a follow. And we hope you enjoyed. Once again, a huge shout out to our podcast producer, Anya Byrne Communications. She's absolutely fantastic, and honestly, we wouldn't have been able to do this without her. So, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your week, guys.
yeah, bye.
Bye.